Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This week I'm in Lincolnshire, in the small village of Wainfleet, St Mary, and I'm on the river steeping. I'm looking for a subject along the river that takes my eye, and as I walked along the river I could see this lovely cottage that was reflected in the water. Yep, this is the one for me. Well, here I am in the very small Lincolnshire village of Wainfleet, and I'm here visiting friends, but it's a lovely morning, so I thought I'd pop out and quickly see if I can capture the first thing near my accommodation that really took my eye, and that's this lovely little cottage with a bit of depth, bit of road up the side. So let me show you how I paint this then. Well, there's the drawing all onto the board. I'm using a very basic palette this morning, that's all I'm using. It's only a quick layer of colour on to start with. Just going to damp the paints up. It's more or less a similar arrangement of paints that I have on my larger tin, but this is only just a little sketching tin really. Okay, well, first thing I'm going to do, we've got the sunlight just damp the sky. I'm using a mop brush, number 4. It's a Daler Rowney. Doesn't point, but I can normally shape it to get the crispness that I need around the building. So let's just damp at least the top half anyway, and then we'll see how that goes. Dampening around the building and down into that area just gives me a little time to lay the colour on, and I'm going to use a Windsor blue for the sky. Now a lot of people shy away from Windsor blue, but to me it has that strength that I look for, and I mean Prussian blue really is the equivalent, and I'm just letting that all flood in. There we go, look at that. And I'm just going to put one other deeper area just there. There we go. And because the paper's damp, it will spread and flow in its own way, which is what we like to see, leaving some white here and there. While that's just beginning to dry off, I'm using cadmium red in that top right hand corner. Actually, I'm going to use alizarin crimson into that too. There we are. And then I'm going to sweep that quickly across and down around these buildings here, and then I'm going to pick around there, which is the chimney. It doesn't have any pots on that one. Decided to leave it like that because it's early morning. I want to pick up that sort of feel of an early morning sort of sky really. Little bit of reddening too in the lower part of that sky. I'm just going to pick off a bit of that colour because it's blobbed, which is not something that we need, and I'm going to lay that colour around this chimney and a little outbuilding that stands there, which is quite nice. Nice plain sky, because I do have a large tree that will show its face somewhere there, and I've got lots of trees here. And now I'm coming down to the top of the picket fence. There's a nice little picket fence there, and that is sufficient for the sky. Now before that dries, I want to get in some depth, some distance. And what other blue have I got here? I actually forget what I've got on my palette. Anyway, let's use the same blue with alizarin crimson. There we are, same blue, alizarin crimson with cadmium yellow, because I want a bluey green could do with being possibly even bluer than that. Right in the distance there we are, and I'm just dropping that in there, and it will then shape up the outside of that building there, like that, just gently. See how that's puddled nicely? It's a lovely way to paint. And then I'm just putting in just blue, really, a deep blue in that area there to indicate really trees that are well into the distance, like that. Look at that. And I'm just touching up, trying to let that flood round so that it looks like trees. Now clean the brush, and just before that runs, hopefully I can just lift it off. So I'm using just a damp brush to lift away the colour, and I'm just picking around there. I want to leave that shrub there unpainted at this stage, and then we go away into the distance. Lovely old cottages. And I'm going to do a similar sort of thing here on the left hand side, but I'm using a little bit more yellow for this, because that's it, just before it dries. And see the way I'm trying to get a soft feel to the outer edge of that large overhanging tree there, leaving some gaps but not too much. Then I'm going in with raw sienna into that, because there is just a little bit, what I would say, an autumny feel to this this time of year. It's just beginning to slightly turn, but not greatly. So I'm showing just a little bit of that yellowing. We've only one chimney there, haven't we? So let's cut in round that. There we are, and bring that tree just the other side, perhaps, of that. May help to enhance that chimney. Yep, I think we can cope with that. Now I'm putting that in round there, and this is the tree that stands fairly close to us. And as I come down, I'm going to deepen that, so there's more blue into the mix to start. Still got a bit of the other colour there, like that. And that's going to pick out the corner of the building. Notice how I'm trying to leave some of the other painting unpainted. A little bit of dark area there. I wonder whether I can just lift that away before I go too far. There we are. That's it. Now I'm taking plenty of Windsor blue, and I'm putting plenty of burnt sienna with that. See how that's darkened that? So I'm just getting the odd feeling of the undersides of some of those clouds. Sorry, some of those, what am I talking about, clouds? We haven't got a cloud in the sky this morning, barely. Some of the darker parts of that tree, and I'm going to pick there again around this chimney there. So there's a little old outbuilding that has a chimney that stands up quite tall, but it's a very interesting little addition, I think, to this subject. And that finishes the roof there. It's a little bit overlaid there, but that'll lay back. And then I can come this side too, while it's still slightly damp. More blue, bit more brown. Doesn't matter if it's more brown down the lower part. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and I'll allow that to flow around that chimney. That'll show that up. And then we can go back in again here and there to try and get the impression that we've got overhanging branches Yeah, a little bit of dry work there. I don't think that spoils anything. And the roof then comes down there like that. Underneath, just a slight overhang on these buildings in this part of the country. Lincolnshire is, as you probably know, is quite flat, but it does have some, you know, if you a bit more blue now going in right in that area there, but I don't want too much blue, so let's put a bit of yellow with that. There we are. Because that is my main distance. I don't want to create another distance area here. You only need one distance area, so I'm painting that in nice and depthy, if that's a word. Then I'm putting more yellow with that, and if I can, I'm going to pick up this picket fence. So we've have a gap there where you can see, or gap there, gap there, gap there, gap there, right? Then we come down again, so we've got a cross section. This just indicates that lovely old picket fence. See that? And that's all we need to do for the first start of this painting. Right, let's get the rest of these buildings in. Now we've got a building there. We do have some windows. They are white framed, but, well, I've left one. Let's leave another one there. And if we can, another door. Anyway, that's the nearest we can do for that. That's fine. Most of this is going to be in shadow. Then we have a cream. So that's a very light sort of brown yellow colour. So that's what these are, and they have darker windows, so that'll be no problem. Just go straight over there on the gable end. That also goes in, and of course the side where we've got trees coming in that side, but that should work okay. It's not a problem. And of course now I've just got to do the left hand little outbuilding, but I don't want that to stand out as yellow as that as the main build, because that wouldn't work for me anyway. We want that to sit back, and there is a shrub in front of that anyway, which I've painted over, which I didn't want to, but that's in the enthusiasm to get this in. That's what you do, which is not going to cause us too many problems, but might as well take that out there like that, and that's going to be that. Now I've changed brush, and I'm going to put the chimneys in, because this brush tends to point a bit better, not much better, and the chimneys, that's the shadow sides going in first, so that will be the shadow side like that, and the shadow side there. Whoops, there you go. And that will straddle that. That's the way the bricking goes, I think. It's in shadow anyway, so we're not too concerned. And then we have a little bit there, and of course we have the shadow from the underside like that, and immediately you can see a feeling of sunlight coming from the right hand side, and that's really the start of the chimneys. All you've got to do is put in, once that dries, a lighter area for the frontage, and let's just go a little bit further with that, because that's not quite far enough to support the chimney. Just going to be less intense, so a little bit of blue in there for the chimney at the back, like that. Pots are a different colour. You can just about see that chimney there, and that can be a lighter tone of that. Right, now let's just put in the sunlit side of these with a weaker colour. Can always improve on that depth of colour with our shadows later on. There we go. chimney pot looks a bit offset, but we'll attend to that. And then the lighter side of that, really, which I'm not too concerned about because that sits back. Notice how I've painted that as if it sits back, which it does. These come forward, that one sits back. Good. Now I also have just painted that in a lesser tone of that, or a slightly darker, richer tone of that colour, purely because I don't want that to come forward. Okay, let's put some of our greenery in now. Now in the distance we do have some lovely old trees which I'm going to put in with our blue, which is the Prussian or Windsor, whichever suits, whichever you've got in your palette, really. And I'm actually mixing. Look, I'm mixing all into the same part of the palette. I haven't used anything. I haven't cleaned that palette. I'm using the same part of the palette. Now, first thing we do is remove a little paint from the brush, and we've got a tree here. Now that wants a lot of paint removed from the brush, and that then sorts out that area there. So it's a tree of some sort, more of a shrub really. Don't know quite when a shrub becomes a tree, but had this debate many times, but we never quite got a clear answer. Bit of raw sienna going in now, because as I say, it's got a little shine to it, because not only of the autumn feel, but also we're into sort of the sunlit light coming from the right, so that can then come down to there like that, and possibly to there as a hedging or whatever. That'll be in shadow anyway, so we're not too concerned with that. Now a nice bright bit of sunlight onto the green area here. Well, and as you know, these always dry lighter, and I'm just leaving a bit of unpainted edge because I want that to remain, and that I'm extending right the way out to there, and I'm leaving a bead of white on top of the river wall. There we go. Now along the front, a bit more blue goes in to that mix, and we've got some greenery there. Try and leave a bead of white on top of a bit of greenery there. That's it. And this will have some touches of dark green in the lower area, and I'm dropping that in while it's still damp, and that way it will give it a bit of depth. Another little green area there, and I'm just putting a little green area there too. So that all helps to give a nice little feel to that cottage. Good, so that's that area. Now I've just put that road in, and I'm just dropping in a little bit of that greenery there. I have done the chimney pots in raw sienna, but other than that, I'm just bashing on with a little bit of greenery along the edge there. There is a little green, well there isn't one, but I'm putting one in because I want to just see, I want to give the viewer the feeling they want to walk around the corner, and I think that probably is what it actually does, to be quite honest. Right, now the windows are cream, very very weak, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to paint the complete areas. Could leave them white, I was going to leave them white, but let's give them a very light little creamy touch. The door is blue, but the surround is cream. There we go. So that's that. Oh, and we've got the other chimney there, a bit more burnt sienna for that chimney. That's a slightly darker chimney there. Good, that seems to be working. Just have to blow the flies off occasionally. Right, we've got the road in. Oh, we've got a little bit of, on that road there's just a little bit of green edging. Let that blend in. There we are. We can determine all of that when we do shadows. And there's another area of green that's running out of picture. Don't want to make too much of this, so but I think it probably needs putting in. There we are. It's a bit awkward this, because I'm having to work around the camera. So if you see the camera shake, then you'll have to excuse me, because it's not, whoops, there's a shake. It's not that easy to achieve. There we are. Shadows will enhance that shortly. Grey again for some tiling on the roof, which is that building there. It's not particularly grey, it's a bit green. That's because I'm using the Windsor blue, but I'm not too concerned about that. And that will go in there like that too. I think that's red tile, but we'll use that the same. Why waste our colour? And then we do have a red tile roof to the building there. I'll just give that a splash of dark colour. Try and get that point to point. There we are. Brush doesn't point very well. A lot of people say to me, yeah, but you've got the perfect brushes that point and everything. Well, I haven't. A very cheap brush, this one. You just have to shape it. That's the key to it. Okay, now the windows need to go in. Now for the windows, it's a very strong Windsor blue with a touch of burnt sienna. And I'm hoping they're dry. All being well, let's start here. This one is open, so you can see the complete top there. So actually it's not quite dry, but hey ho. And I'm just putting in the glazings. Other than that, these are the glazed areas. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and the same in the lower area. Sorry, I've just got a fly on my nose. 3 there, 3 there, and 3 there, that you may not be able to quite see where they finish. And that is the windows, and the door, I'd say that's more or less Prussian blue. Let's see what we get if we put that in Prussian blue. There we go. Look at that. I like Prussian blue for doors. I don't know why. You know, for blue doors. Because it complements the red of everything else that we've got in the picture. See how that cool, nice cool colour against the warmth of the rest of the cottage. And that will be the door itself. Nice little cottage door. I think that does it. I don't think we can go too far wrong with that. In actual fact, yeah, let's leave that at that, I think. I did change brush for that, which is my number 6 Rosemary & Co. I'm going to continue with that brush to indicate there is a little bit of growth on the bank there, along that river bank. It's nothing too spectacular. I'm putting a bit of red with that to make it a bit more brown, because that's what it is. It's a brown sort of weedy sort of feel that comes a bit higher in places. And I'm just scratching that out as we go out of picture. Should probably lose that shortly, but that's that sort of dull, weedy sort of feel that I wanted to get. Good. We've just got a couple of other things that we need to put in before we look at the shadows and then the reflection. Well, this is more or less the halfway stage, I suppose. So that's my picture and that's my view. I've pulled it back just a touch, as you can see, but overall I'm pretty much happy with the overall feeling of the way things are going with this one. Now I'll change back to that the second brush I was using. I think it's probably about a number 8, I think. And I'm going to now paint this tree, and I've mixed a very strong mix of Prussian blue or Windsor blue, whichever, and burnt sienna, and I'm going to put in the trunk that comes from this very dark tree that's working its way up like that. That's the trunk area. Now we'll cover over that shortly, putting a little yellow with it now, just to give it a slightly different feel for the branches and the way these branches sort of head out. It's very interesting. Finish on the top of the tree there, and like that, and that will shape up that chimney, because it's very dense in the lower area, and will also shape up that chimney pot like that. So all being well, we've got away with that problem that we had, and it's one of those fir trees that sort of comes out and lifts up. Not sure of the variety of this type of tree, but I like painting them because of the way they do actually spray out. And the good thing about this one, it's picking up that lovely chimney, which is what I'm looking to achieve to a certain extent. There we are, and away we go again. There is some opening parts, it's a bit open in places, as these old trees are, but overall we've got that lovely feeling of a pine tree of some sort, like that. Good. And of course, make certain that you know you've got to realise it starts off in the lower area underneath. You know, it grows from the back here, so you've got to make it big enough. Any other tree we need to put in? Oh yes, we do. And to the left hand side, morning. To the left hand side we have a tree just coming over here, just hanging over, nice and dark, so plenty of paint, very little water, because this is the darkest tree that I have in the palette, really. And that overhangs there, like that. It's lovely to have these trees coming in from the left hand side and the right hand sides, whichever, and that shows up the sunlight, as you can see. And the brush has just run out of paint, so I can now use that to dab and dot to give an open feel to that. There we are. And that actually overhangs a lot of those buildings there. But there is light coming under it, so it's nice and dark, but as I say, there is light coming underneath that to show a bit of the roof, and then it hangs down with the light coming underneath like that. There we are. Good, I think that's looking quite fine. There is another tree here, and I think that probably needs it, and I'm just putting yellow with that mix, with very little water onto the brush, yellow to that mix to brighten that green up, and then I've fanned the brush out, very little paint on, and I'm just going to drop that in there. Like that. And there again, as you can see, that then has a tendency to shape that lighter bush in the front there. So if we go really dark at this lower area, it will really highlight the frontage of that and the corner of that building as well. There we go, and bring that round like that. And we've got a lovely bit of depth. We'll probably put a figure in there. Just shadow time. Okay, well, I've just spread a little bit of very weak colour there, but my shadow colour is cadmium red and the Prussian or Windsor blue. Starting off more with a blue mix, not too dark, but I'm going to paint this large area in first. Let's remove a bit of the paint because it's blobbed a bit there. That's using this large brush again because I want that to remain a nice fresh clean wash of colour, because that's what shadows really are all about. Clean washes of colour that pick up the corner of the buildings like that. There we are. Move a bit more off the brush. I want to just shape that and shape that corner there. That's it. That's alright. Let it run. Let it run in. And there is a bit there, and there's a bit down the back of the chimney like that. That's good. Then that part of the chimney there and there, and underneath there. That's it. And then of course that runs up the roof, which is also nice and dark, and all of a sudden you get the funnel of sunlight. Same here, chimney, left hand side, and just a bit of overhang there like that. Yeah, that's sufficient, quite sufficient for that. Just remove a little bit of the brush. Morning. Remove a little bit from the brush just to highlight these shadow areas within the building there like that, which is the picket gate fence or whatever you like to call it. There you go. So a little bit there, that's good. And now of course we have the overhang. So plenty of blue with this, and we've got that lovely, I'm putting quite deep overhang shadow there because that's what we really need. Nice little deep overhang shadow running along there like that. Then of course we have overhang the shadow within the frame itself, which runs like that, like that, like that. And of course the door is also shadowed, nice deep into recess. Brilliant. Don't we just love watercolour? Just putting a bit of an overhang shadow there. There isn't any, but I'm going to. And I'm going to put a shadow down that left hand side there and show a little bit there like that, because I think we can see that. Then we do have a lovely shadow. Now these buildings are all in shadow. Let's not have the roof in shadow to start. I've got some windows to put in, but let's just peek that off into shadow like that. Like that. And then we have Oh, and that then comes down into shadow like that. But then we have just a little touch of shadow that's cast from that building, from that tree, sorry. But then, of course, we have the lovely shadow that runs across the road like that. That I'm showing pretty much deep, really, right the way down. Because I think it does. And that's what I'm showing. Just like that. Morning. And we're going to put a shadow on that as well, for some unknown reason. Well, it just highlights that. We'll put some other bits and pieces in. So that's that. And isn't that lovely this morning? It's a really lovely morning. Now, I've just thoroughly damped that piece of paper. And what I'm going to do now is to paint in the reflection in the water. Now let's paint that one in first. Yep. Now let's add a bit more raw sienna and paint this one in. Trying if I can to leave, don't think we'd see a lot of that. I'm doing a wet into wet approach for this, and I'm leaving just some indications of the upper windows, not the lower, because I don't think we'd see those. Just an indication like that. So by doing wet into wet gives the opportunity to go in strong then with plenty of blue, plenty of brown, and to create the reflection of that tree there or in the distance, and of course in many respects the dark one there before you get to that. Show the angle of the roof. There we are, like that. That's good. And then we have the lesser important bank. Now this is the reflection of the wall, really. That's what that darker one is, and I've overpainted just a touch to get it darker. So we've got the wall in reflection, then you've got the buildings, and then, yeah, we will see that tree this side, like that, overhanging. We'll see a bit of something in the distance there, but I want to leave a little bit of opening there. And let's just paint in this bit of burnt sienna here for this building. There we are. Don't be too strong with that, because reflections are never the same colour, or don't think they look right in a watercolour if you paint them the same colour. Good. Just a little darker in places, and we're pretty much there, really, I think. Just see if I can get a little darker for a couple of these places, which I think it would benefit if I did go a little stronger there. Like that. Notice how I'm painting across all the time. It's a little stronger, not perhaps too much there, but a little stronger as I come away there. And this needs to be very strong because of the strong colour, and that helps to show the light then. Doesn't have to be all of it, but just some of it. And now I can now take that back into my cottage and just finishing it off, really. So let's finish it back at base. Well, there you have it. Hope you enjoyed that look at how I'm painting this lovely cottage that you can see into the distance. Just got one or two little touches to put in back at the cottage where I'm staying, but I'm quite happy with that lovely little watercolour of a cottage here I'm not even sure on the river, to be honest with you, but I'll find out. And we're in Lincolnshire, just north of Boston. Okay then, well, here is the subject. It's a lovely little cottage on the River Steeping in Lincolnshire, and obviously I painted the vast majority of it when I was there looking across the river, but there were parts of it that I need to highlight and to bring out a little bit of added impression of detail. So anyway, let's finish this one off. Now here we are. I'm going to use this small brush, and I've damped all my paints. So number 6, Rosemary and Co. I'm just going to put in a couple of little indications of windows, a little bit of red, a little bit of blue, just to indicate a window or two in that cottage. There's a door there, but there's a door there now, and perhaps another couple there. Those windows are already in, so that's fine. Right, now let's get into the real big stuff. Now I feel to give this a bit of punch, we need some darker colour there. It's a little bit weak as far as I'm concerned, certainly for my style of painting. So I'm going to use Windsor Blue. I've used that before. And I'm going to use Burnt Sienna. So Windsor Blue, Burnt Sienna, with this lovely mop brush. Doesn't point, it's an old number 4 that doesn't point. And those two colours give me a very, very dark green. We need to mix them. Notice how amount of paint I'm using to get those to mix into a dark blue-green. Right, where are we going with that? Well, that's going to go on there, like that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put a little bit of yellow, a little bit of cadmium with that, just to, well, it helps to thicken it up and gives me a better option. And that's just decided to run down right in whoop there. Now this time I need to catch that, and that is going to be part of my water area. Look at that. So I'm changing to a smaller brush so that I can pick in around, before I go higher up, around that building. A bit more blue going in now to make it really, really dark. And we're cutting in down there. There we go, that's better. Under that eave area there. And I'm going to cut in where I'm making these little sections in between each gate. It's a picket gate. A little bit of a picket gate there. I'm making those a little darker. That's all I've done there. Good. Okay. Right. Now we can go in with the large brush, and we're going to paint there, going to paint there, like that. You'll notice that once you get that dark colour in, it begins to light up that area considerably, actually. I'm going in at just one tone darker at certain parts of this, and I'm working at quite a steep angle here, more or less so that the camera can pick it up, really. So there we are. That's it. That's lovely. and then I'm going down there into that corner, picking up that chimney around there, and of course just this side of that chimney too. And that chimney, although it's in shadow, it will be considerably lighter than the actual checking you can see that, yep, considerably lighter than the background. So although areas are in shadow, doesn't mean to say that they're darker than objects that are behind them. Yeah. Now as I go up like that, nice and dark to start with, all round that chimney pot. Go. Now I'm removing some of the moisture from the brush and paint, and that will give me a chance to overhang some branches that hang like that are a little bit lighter. So you've got light, light and dark in varying forms to give a more open feel to that tree. And I find I do these better with a large brush rather than playing around with a small brush, but some artists don't find that. And gradually, as we get up top, can you see the way I'm using the shape of that brush to indicate the darker open areas of the of that tree? Check that doesn't run down, and that's that side. I think complete. Okay, another very dark tree is this one here, like that. So I've put that in like that. Now there again I'm using the brush to try and indicate the branches that are sort of, they sort of like come down and up really. Very, very dark there again around that chimney, and just sweep across that roofing area. There we go. And just finish at that chimney. I think that would be the answer, and I'm going to go around that chimney as well. This building I want to stand out in very sharp, there we are, look at that. And then I'm going to leave one or two areas that haven't been painted, but not too many. See the way I'm dotting away and using the shape of that brush to get the feel of this tree. It's a lovely old tree. Yeah, happy with that. Oh, and while we have this dark colour, there'll be one other really dark area here. And what I'm using for this, I don't think I told you, is a little bit of yellow in it, but mainly Windsor blue, Prussian blue. Just not sure what I've got in here, and Indian red, because that really will give me a substantially very, very dark feel, and I need a very dark feel to that lower part of that tree as well, like that, just on the underside. Then as I come up, not quite so much, but, and that's a tree that runs out of picture to the right, and now I can extend it a little more if I wish with these darker tones. Not too many dark tones up top, because would be less there. There we go. Can you see the way that all of a sudden these really dark tones create that that feeling of stronger light onto the building itself. This is what it's all about, creating light on that building. Now, a lot of people say to me, how do you create a river or a pond to look like a pond, really? Well, what I would say is that blue, the Windsor blue or Prussian blue, is good with a little raw sienna. And this is the mix that I've got. Fairly weak, not too strong. There we go. And I'm going to just pull that across. Not everywhere, just be a little weaker than that, bit more water with that. There we are. And all of a sudden, we create the feeling of ripples within that water, particularly in the foreground, but then quickly, very, very weak in the distance. And just blend that through like that. Nice to have a little bit of shimmer here and there. This is moving water, so and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to bang in just a little bit of darker stuff along the edge there, and just a little even stronger right along this edge because of those trees more than anything. Because and of course here, there we are, because of that tree. Doesn't that look more liquid now than it did? Well, I think so anyway. Just watch it doesn't run, that's it. As long as you paint across the paper, you can't really go wrong. Not too much more to do, really. I've got light red and cobalt blue in the brush, very dark, because I want to give, there's a lovely pantile roof there. And how do we suggest pantile roofs? Well, really, all you need is just some little edges like that, all right? Then just pull those in, creating a secondary shadow. And all of a sudden it looks uneven. Just bring that up just a little because the perspective is not quite right. There we go. I like that. See the way it's give that sort of feel of a, let's level that down a little bit and bring that up. That's better. Yeah, we can accept that. And then I'm going to put in some edging down, just as if there's some tiles edging there. And of course we'll have another row of tiles edging down the back there. There we go. And then with a damp brush, we integrate that colour into that shadow area. See the way I've done that by just damping the brush. And all of a sudden, we've then spread that into that shadow area. There we go. Underneath there will go a guttering shortly. Where else are we going to put this light red? A bit more light red in the mix now, because I want to indicate just a little sense of ridge tiles. Nothing too fussy, like that. And you can just spread that across. All sorts of things you can do to create textures and feeling and life. And of course, underneath there, I'm going to create a darker chimney, because I think that will benefit from that. There, like that, because it's a warm dark colour. There we are. Yeah, see you've got that warm dark shadow now, as opposed to a cool blue. Just felt it needed that. Not going to do the same with that. I don't want the eye drawn to that. It's got to be that focal point in that building. Good. Right, shadows again, a bit more blue this time with the mix, and we've got shadow from that planting over the left hand side of each of those areas of green. There we are. And tell you what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a brighter wash of colour, not too brilliant, for this wall here, like that. I think it's got a capping actually. I'm going over the greens as well, but they will shine back through. So that goes like that. I'm bringing that up just a little higher. It's a little straight, it's a little, you know, I prefer not to have a straight area, but it does work. And then at the water's edge, we have lots of little bits of damp area that are quite dark. Not a line, just little specks and spots of varying things going on. All of a sudden that bank sits onto the ground. Vital that this sort of thing is treated in this way. Then of course we've got shadow in amongst that on that wall, and this is the way you create that shadow on that wall. Just a few little touches that that I can see is required, and the first is a little bit of darker area under there, a little bit darker area underneath there. That's it, and perhaps an indication of the tops, perhaps the door there, a little darker to indicate that. There we are, just to give it a little bit of life. Then I'm going to use a very dark cobalt blue and light red, because I'm going to paint in, there is a gutter, and besides all that, it's always nice to have a really dark edge just there. That's it. That seems to balance that out. Now the gutter actually goes around the corner, so I'm going to put that in as well. That slips around the corner like that. Although, on the other hand, not so sure as that is required. So all you do, you spread it out. There we are. So if you put something in you're not sure of, just wipe it away. Good. I think that probably just needs the surround taking away and signing up. Okay, well I'm going to use the brush to sign up. I'm using light red with very little paint, sorry, very little water, so that the brush points. Just remove a little moisture from the brush. I only want that to point up. I'll use a mule stick just to hold my hand, and I'm going to sign it there because I feel that's probably the best side. You just get this second sense of where the best side is to sign a picture, and I think there is best. And people always ask me, are you not going to put any birds in? Well, okay, especially for the people that love to see some birds in the sky. And we're going to have one there like that. See how they're different angles? Never make them at the same angle. And we're going to have one, just, don't know whether we want another one, two will do. And there you have it, an old cottage looking across the river steeping in Lincolnshire. Well, I hope you've enjoyed watching that. It is a plein air painting. Started off down by the river when I went on my trip to Lincolnshire, and finished, just touched in, last little final touches here in the studio on my return. So if you did enjoy watching that, then please join me for another watercolour demonstration very, very soon. Thank you all for watching.